Atlantis, just a story or true, part 2, a possible answer. In the straits is not Gibraltar, then where is this strait that leads into the ocean? In the Rig Veda there is mention of a strait that leads from the Mediterranean Sea into the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean that became silted up. This strait also mentioned in the Orlinda book, but according to that record is blocked following an earthquake around 1600 BCE, which is also around the period of the Santorini eruption. In ancient times, the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea were connected together by a strait through which the Phoenician and Aryan trading ships entered the Mediterranean Sea. As the passage gradually silted up, the connection between India and Europe broke off. The Phoenicians had colonies in many countries, from each they were driven away. In this way they were expelled from India, Egypt and Greece, or they mixed with the natives when they lost supremacy in those countries. The Rig Veda calls them Panis and talks of a great war between the Panis and the Aryans. The Panis are defeated and compelled to leave the land of the Aryans. The Rig Veda are the Panis Phoenicians and the Minoans and one and the same refugees who settled on Crete and Tyre after being driven out of India by the Aryans. Then, following the eruption of Tyre, they are expelled from Crete, Greece and Egypt. The bull-leaping fresco on Knossos reminds that Athens was compelled to send tribute to the Minoans of Crete until Theseus killed the Minotaur. Theseus leads a successful rebellion against King Minos of Crete. So let's see what's happening in Egypt when the volcano exploded at Santorini during the Bronze Age. From 1720 BC, northern Egypt is occupied by the Hyksos until 1500 and are driven out by Ammos, who then unified Egypt. The Hyksos are supposed to have introduced the war chariot to the Egyptians and the composite bow, plus many peaceful implements and inventions. In Plato's Critias 119a-b is a description of the Atlantean army, which includes 10,000 chariots. Prior to the Hyksos, Egypt had no knowledge of the chariot or the wheel. Any battle with the Atlantean army would have introduced Egyptians to the use of the chariot. When driven out of Egypt, the Hyksos retreated northward to Lebanon, the land of the Canaanites and Phoenicians. Any retreating army would retreat to their allies, not an enemy. Formerly, the Hyksos had peaceful contact with the Minoans on Crete. Atlantis was the leader of a confederation of nations at war with Athens and Egypt. I suggest that the Minoans were leaders of a confederation of Phoenicians and allied nations. Driven out of India, they had united for their own mutual protection and survival. The tsunami created when the volcano on Santorini exploded destroyed the Minoan and Phoenician fleets. The destruction caused by the wave wrecked the confederation enough for Athens and Egypt to take punitive action against its enemies. I believe that I presented a theory that explains the story told to Solon by the priest at Sais, and have presented valid arguments to account for the date, size and location of Atlantis. Terminus 24D to 25D. Sais is within the region occupied by the Hyksos and may have been demoralized by the Egyptian priest. Critias 113a to b reminds us that the natives have been changed by poetry and possibly political reasons, both by the Egyptians and Solon. The Rig Veda tells us that the Panis Phoenicians migrated westward after being defeated by the Aryans. They founded new colonies along the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. Driven from these locations, they secured a base in Crete and Santorini. A large fleet ensured their safety, while they promoted trade between nations. The Hyksos dominated Egypt. Hatred of them can be understood if you read the Bible, Genesis chapter 47, verses 13 to 26. It is believed Joseph ruled under Hyksos Pharaoh. The Panis and the Hyksos during the famine grew rich on the misfortunes of other people. The price of aid was that you became their slave. Egypt and Athens seized the moment to free its people in the chaos created when the Santorini exploded.